Good morning, Willowbrook family. Today's daily Devo is Matthew chapter 20, verses 29 through 33. Now, in this passage, we're going to meet two blind men sitting by the side of the road as Jesus and his disciples pass through Jericho. Now, as Jesus is passing by the blind men, word gets around who is drawing such a large crowd, and these two blind men cry out to him, and they say, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us." But the crowd that's with Jesus rebukes them and tells them to be quiet. And I think sometimes that can be reflected in our own lives as we outwardly express our faith to others. We can be met with discouragement and people telling us to be quiet. But what we're going to see in these blind men is the way we should respond. And so if we keep reading this passage, we're going to see an incredible faith in these two blind men. Now, at this time in Jesus' ministry, he'd been performing many miracles, and word was getting around. And if we take a look back in verse 29, it says that a large crowd was following Jesus. So undoubtedly, these blind men had heard of Jesus and his miracles, his compassion, and his power. So let's see how these men responded after the crowd rebuked them. Verse 31 says, "The crowd rebuked them and told them to be quiet. But they shouted all the louder, 'Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us.'" They didn't back down when the crowd told them to be quiet. They got even louder. And I think that's a great example of how we can respond when our faith is being challenged. These men knew that Jesus was the Son of God, and they had faith they could be healed. This was a persistent and unwavering faith on display for everybody to see. Then in verse 32, Jesus stops and he calls out to them and asks a straightforward question. "What do you want me to do for you?" And the blind men answer with a straightforward answer. "We want our sight." And if we look ahead to verse 34, we're going to see Jesus' answer to this request. He's moved with compassion and he heals them. So when we face adversity in our lives, I think we can take an example from these men and cry out to Jesus. And just like the blind men, we can be direct with our prayers. You can ask God directly for what you're seeking. In Philippians, it says, "Let your requests be known to God." Because God's always going to hear our prayers and he's always going to give us an answer. And you may have heard this said before, but God answers prayers in three ways: yes, no, and wait. For these men on the road to Jericho, they got a yes. They were healed right then and there. But for some others, their healing comes when they reach their home in heaven. But church family, as you go about the rest of your day and this weekend, I hope you can find some inspiration in the persistent faith of these blind men and be encouraged in your walk with him, trusting that Jesus has compassion for you in whatever chapter of life you might be walking through right now. Have a great day.